Hi, today we're here with another episode of the Q&A series with Cybersecurity, and today's episode marks it the 8th episode since we started the series. So what's about today's Q&A series? Today we'll be answering a lot of questions regarding cybersecurity, touching various fields such as network security, perimeter security, cloud microservices, and many other interesting questions. And these questions were answered correctly after describing or defining various options given. So without wasting much of your time, let's get started with today's episode. Question number 1. What is the command to launch the Metasploit framework in Kali Linux? Option A, we have the Metasploit. Option B, we have the sudo Metasploit. Option C, we have the MSF console. Option D, we have the sudo MSF console. Option E, none of the above. Option F, all of the above. To understand this question, let's define what Metasploit framework is all about. Metasploit is a penetration testing and ethical hacking framework developed by Rapid7. It contains a lot of exploit codes that are common to vulnerable components and CVEs reported. To get Metasploit framework working, users can use the following commands: MSF console or sudo MSF console. So, having defined what Metasploit framework is and understood the commands used in launching the Metasploit framework, the correct answer to this question is option C or option D, MSF console and sudo MSF console. The sudo stands for super user do, so you can also use it to launch MSF console as a super user, or you can just run the MSF console command directly in your Kali Linux terminal. Moving on to question number 2. In cloud microservices, what are the 3 layman's law of software evolution? Option A, continuing change, depreciating factors, increasing complexity. Option B, continuing change, licensing factor, increasing complexity. Option C, continuing change, declining quality, increasing complexity. Option D, continuing change, declining factor, increasing complexity. Option E, none of the above. Option F, all of the above. So, before we answer this question, let's define or understand what the layman's law of software evolution is all about. Layman's law for software evolution was formulated in the year 1974 by laymen. This law describes the balance between the forces that drives new development and that which slows down progress. The description of the layman's law comprises of 3 different laws or 3 different categories of the law. The first one being the law of continuing change. The law of continuing change describes the dissatisfaction of a software increasing over time except it's adopted to meet new needs. So as long as the software still retaining its old properties, users will easily get bored or find it boring using the same software over and over again. The second law is the law of increasing complexity. The continuous change of robust programs leads to an increase in complexity, except work is done to maintain it. So here the second law is describing is that as long as the complexity of using a program or software increases, the complexity of using such program increases as well, except a work is done to maintain it. For example, if you consider the usage of Windows 7, now down to the recent update of Windows 11, you can see there has been a drastic change in the complexities. Users can now access various functions and interface with just one click by selecting the settings and going through the controls that are listed on the left pane. So there you can see account, device information, and other necessary information you need to see when accessing the Windows computer. The third law of the layman's law is the law of declining quality, which describes that a system will appear to decline except it is rigorously maintained and adapted to operational environment changes. For example, let's describe this with a construction environment, right? So considering the fact that, let's say you have an excavator that is used for construction purposes, right? So imagine you use that excavator to break a floor or a ground that is based on mud soil. The environment there is that the soil is muddy, so it's definitely going to be a bit difficult when compared to excavating just a sandy or loamy soil. So in this case, the quality usage of this equipment when excavating the soil would decline, except it is rigorously maintained to adapt to the operational changes. So what does this imply is that if you have to use the excavator machine to excavate a muddy soil, then you have to use something more strong or something more tough that can withstand the pressure or the friction between the soil and the excavator bucket. So having defined these three laws, the correct answer to this question is the law of continuing change, the law of increasing complexity, and the law of declining quality. So option A is wrong, option B is wrong, option C, continuing change, is correct, declining quality is correct, increasing complexity is correct. Option D, continuing change, declining factor, increasing complexity. Okay, option D is wrong because it's not declining factor, but rather declining quality. So the correct answer to this question is option C, continuing change, declining quality, increasing complexity. Moving on to question number 3. In network security, which of the OSPF, which is also known as Open Shortest Path First, supports both IPv4 and IPv6 protocols? Option A, OSPF version 2 and OSPF version 3. Option B, OSPF version 2. Option C, OSPF version 3. Option D, OSPF version 3 and EIGRP. Option E, none of the above. Option F, all of the above. So the three keywords here are network security, OSPF, and both IPv4 and IPv6 protocols. IPv4 stands for Internet Protocol version 4, and IPv6 is the version 6 of the Internet Protocol. So to understand or have the right answer to this question, let's define what OSPF is all about and the various versions of OSPF. OSPF is a protocol associated with the link state routing algorithm and falls under the group of Interior Gateway Protocol. The OSPF version 2 is the first version of the OSPF protocol, which is described under the RFC 2328. It supports only IPv4 protocols. The OSPF version 3 is defined under the RFC 5340 and supports both IPv4 and IPv6 protocols or addresses. EIGRP is a Cisco proprietary protocol and stands for Enhanced Interior Gateway Routing Protocol. Now, to answer this question or to get the right answer to this question, going back to the keywords, we were asked for OSPF. We were not asked for EIGRP. And the next keyword here we should emphasize on is that it supports both IPv4 and IPv6 protocols or addresses. So the correct answer to this question leaves us with option C, OSPF version 3. This protocol supports both IPv4 addresses and IPv6 addresses. Moving on to question number 4. Fencing is one of the ways of implementing security. Which of the following doesn't describe perimeter fencing in an organization? A, physical. B, preventive. C, deterrent. D, detective. E, none of the above. F, all of the above. To answer this question, let's understand what fencing is in perimeter security. Fencing is a form of physical security that is intended to deter or prevent unauthorized access to a physical structure. In this definition, as you can see, there are three keywords that were highlighted here. And these three keywords, referencing them to the options given, option A, physical, is correct. Option B, preventive, is correct, to prevent. C, deterrent, is correct, to deter. D, detective, is wrong. So going back to the question as well, we were asked which of the following doesn't describe perimeter fencing. So from the list of options as we have seen, I've described, The only option that doesn't fit into fencing in perimeter security is detective, as detective is basically for perimeter security that has to do with security alarms, CCTVs, and every other forms of detective mechanism used in perimeter security. So having defined these various options, the correct answer to this question is option C, detective. Moving on to question number 5. Surfing through the internet, you discovered that a presentation you made was published without your consent. What rights has been violated? A, copyright. B, patent. C, trade secret. D, A and B. E, none of the above. F, all of the above. To get the right answer to this question, let's define the various options given. Copyright is an intellectual property which gives the original author the rights of exclusivity and ownership. Patent is an exclusive right associated with invention or product development. Trade secret is a secret document containing practices or processes that is not known outside the company. So having defined these various options, going back to the question, we have 3 keywords here. The first one was you discovered that a presentation you made. Definitely this is a text document or a PowerPoint document. So this has to do with written articles or published articles or publications. And the second keyword here was published without your consent, means there has been a copy of that article made on the public internet, which also has to do with a copyright violation. And the last keyword here is what rights has been violated. So already we have given a clue from the second keywords. The correct answer to this question is copyright, because copyright is associated with presentation, book publications, articles, or every other forms of publication that is written exclusively belonging to the owner or the author of that articles. So without reading permissions or authorizations from the author of that articles, you have violated the copyright law or policy. So the correct answer to this question is option A, copyright. Moving on to question number 6. Scanning through your organization's system, you discovered that a backdoor was installed by a malicious hacker. Which of the triad has been compromised? A, confidentiality. B, integrity. C, availability. D, A, B, and C. E, none of the above. F, all of the above. Now let's understand the various triad of cybersecurity, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality has to do with unauthorized access to data in a system. Integrity has to do with data corruption. And availability is the unavailability of data when demanded or upon demand. So the compromise of availability has to do with data not being available upon demand or upon request. Going back to the question, we have 3 keywords here. 1 is your organization system. 2 is backdoor was installed by a malicious hacker. And the third one was the triad of cybersecurity. Now, when you talk about a system being secured, it means that the integrity of that system can be vouched for, or the integrity of that system can be accounted for, or you can also guarantee the integrity of the system. So when a malicious code or a software that doesn't belong to the organization or the organization is unaware of is installed on the system is no more secure. So the integrity of the system cannot be vouched for, and you cannot say, oh, the system is secured in this case. In such case, you can now describe that the system integrity has been compromised, because anything that alters the initial configuration that has been set or installed on this computer system by an unauthorized user and the legitimate user not being aware of these changes, then we can say the system integrity has been compromised. So having described this little analysis of the triad of cybersecurity, the correct answer is option B, system integrity or integrity has been compromised. Moving on to question number 7. You log on a Windows computer and discovered that the system is slow. What should be your first line of action? Option A, go to the internet and download the software. Option B, format the system immediately to fix the issue. Option C, check the device health first to see what the problem might be. Option D, A, B, and C. Option E, none of the above. Option F, all of the above. Now, looking at question number 7, we have 2 keywords here. The first keyword is that you discovered that the system is slow. And the second keyword was what should be your first line of action. So we were not asked what are the actions you need to take. Rather, it was emphasized on the first line of actions to take after you have successfully logged onto the system. Going through the list of options given, as a system administrator or an IT engineer, when you encounter a problem on a computer system, the first line of action you need to take is to diagnose what the problem actually is. It could be a hardware component, it could be a hard disk failure, it could be even your RAM that is actually corrupted or has issues and needs to be fixed. So without diagnosing these various issues to ascertain what the problem actually is, there is no way you can understand the next step to take in terms of fixing the problem. So from the various options given, the first approach a good system administrator or IT engineer would do is to first check the device health to see what the problem might be. Once you have gotten the device health information, then you can now proceed to know the next step to take. If it's a hardware component, then you have to fix the hardware component. If it's a software issue, then you either update the software or you uninstall that particular software that is creating the problem on that computer system. So the correct answer to this question is option C. Check the device health first to see what the problem might be. Moving on to question number 8. A data at rest is a data A, backed up on the cloud, B, backed up on an external hard drive, C, stored on the transport layer, D, A, B, and C, E, none of the above, F, all of the above. So to have the right answer to this question, let's understand what data at rest is all about. Data at rest is a data not in use or not in motion. So when a data is not in use or is stored in an application, such as a cloud software provider or in a hard drive or external CD, and kept in a place that is secured and inaccessible by unauthorized user, we can say that data is at rest. On the transport layer, we know the protocol that is associated with the transport layer of the OSI model, which is the TCP and UDP. So these are packets being transmitted over a network. So they can be a TCP packet or a UDP packet. For TCP packets, TCP protocols are used, and for UDP packets, UDP protocols are used. So after defining these options, understanding what data at rest is all about, the correct answer to this question is option A and B. Data backed up in the cloud is permanently stored except when you try to access them, so we can consider that to be a data at rest. Data backed up on an external hard drive in the sense that you're not using it, so it is kept or stored securely except when you want to use it, is considered a data at rest. So the correct answer to this question is option A and B. Backed up on the cloud and backed up on an external hard drive. Moving on to question number 9. Which of the following requires the least technical skills? A, update a Windows operating system. B, shutting down a computer. C, adding users' account to your computer. D, A, B, and C. E, none of the above. F, all of the above. Looking at question number 9, we have one keyword here, list technical skills. So of all the options given, all the options are correct, but one requires the least technical skills to be done or conducted. For option A, updating a Windows operating system might be a bit technical, especially when a lot of packages are downloaded during the software update checks. And this might not just be the Windows operating system, but also the software of the hardware of your device manufacturer. So assuming you're using HP, right? And you downloaded the Windows update. While you're downloading the Windows updates, the HP released the firmware of the BIOS as well on the Windows update checks. So you have to verify if the update will not create issues on your computer. So that's a bit technical and needs some skills to run. Also, if you're running the Windows update using the command prompt in the Windows PowerShell, you must also be skillful to know the commands that is right to execute, as you do not want in the process of updating you install an update that might crash your computer or make your computer system slow. For option B, shutting down a computer is just easy. You just have to click on the window icon on your computer and click on the power off icon button and select the list of services you want to conduct. It can be shutting down, it can be restarting, it can be hibernating, it can be logging off or locking the computer screen. So that's a bit or less complex when compared to option number A. Option number C, adding user's account to your computer. This also needs a form of technicality in terms of you have to understand what type of rights or privileges you want to assign to the new user you're adding to your account, and what type of files or folders you want them to access. It takes a lot of technical skills to set up this, as if you are not a technical expert or an advanced system administrator, you might end up creating a user who has administrative rights on the computer, enabling them to install applications which might lead them to install malware or viruses on the computer. So option C needs a lot of technicality for you to be able to assign a user to your computer or assign a user account to the device and creating roles and permissions of what they can do or files they can access. Option D is wrong and option E and F is wrong. So having defined these various options and made a clear understanding of the various options given, the correct answer to this question is option B, shutting down a computer, as this requires minimum or to no skills to be able to be conducted. Moving on to question number 10. What security policy is responsible for the storing of data over a period? A, availability. B, record retention. C, auditing. D, A, B, and C. E, none of the above. F, all of the above. Question number 10 has two keywords, security policy and storing of data over a period. So the question here is focusing on the security policy and data storage over a period of time. To have the right answer to this question, let's define the various options given. Availability is the third arm of cybersecurity triad that is responsible for the availability of data upon request. Record retention is the duration in time by which data or an information should be retained. Auditing is the process of reviewing computer logs, financial reports, and so on, in order to detect any fraudulent instances that might have occurred. So having defined these various options, the correct answer to this question is option B, record retention, as this security policy gives the right to an organization of the period or the duration they can hold onto a user's data for business purposes. After that period, if the data is not discarded and the organization is involved in a cyber incident or cyber breach, any suing to that organization would impose a fine as they have violated the retention or the record retention policy. So the correct answer to this question is option B, record retention. Moving on to the trophy of the day. If you scored 10 over 10, you won the first prize, which is the gold trophy. Congratulations. You did awesomely well, and you have really been keeping up with studying and equipping yourself with cybersecurity related topics. If you scored 8 over 10, for the second prize, you won a silver trophy. Congratulations. That shows how much effort you put into learning and as well trying your best gaining new knowledge regarding cybersecurity topics. If you scored 7 out of 10 of the questions for today's episode, congratulations. You won the third prize and you have a bronze medal. That shows how continuously you're improving from the previous episodes that you have encountered with us. We hope you continue to improve and continue to be better in studying and learning cybersecurity topics. And for those who were not able to win any of those trophies today, congratulations as well. Efforts are important more than success. Success is good, but effort trumps the list. As long as you continuously make efforts in terms of improving yourself or getting better in answering questions or in what you do, you certainly at some point in life would win. That's how life is all about. So we also encourage you as well. You're also a winner for participating, and we hope it gets better or you get better in answering these questions. So we have finally come to an end of today's episode, and we hope you have learned something new and also improved your skills in understanding cybersecurity questions and answering them as well. If you find this video interesting, please do not forget to give us the goodies, which are the likes, by tapping that thumbs up button, subscribe by tapping that subscribe button, and tap that notification bell so you'll be the first to get notified when another episode of the Q&A series drops. Thanks for watching, and see you next week on another episode of the Q&A series with Fixing Gateway Security. Bye for now.